So it feels like every company on the planet is racing to the cloud, right? It's where all the innovation is happening. It's how businesses scale. But there's this huge, often kind of overlooked question right at the heart of it all. How do you actually connect your business to the cloud? Now, this isn't just some minor technical detail. No, this is a critical decision that can either put your cloud journey into hyperdrive or bring it to a screeching halt. So let's really dig in and break down what that choice actually means. All right, so your business is moving to the cloud. Fantastic. But how does the cloud connect back to you? I mean, how are your on-prem data centers, your branch offices, and heck, even your other cloud environments going to talk to this new setup? That connectivity challenge, well, that's exactly what we're going to unpack today. Okay, so before we dive headfirst into this crazy multi-cloud world that most of us are living in now, let's rewind a little bit and start at the very beginning. The journey almost always kicks off with what seems like a pretty simple problem, just making that first connection. For most folks, the cloud journey doesn't start with some grand master plan. It's usually way more tactical than that. Some project needs to connect to AWS, or one specific app is getting moved over. The problem seems small, right? It feels contained and, straightforward enough to solve with whatever tools the cloud provider gives you out of the box. And this slide really gets to the heart of that first choice, especially back in the early days of AWS. On one side, you had what they called the transit VPC. This was the classic do-it-yourself route, where you'd literally set up and manage your own virtual routers. On the other side, AWS eventually came out with Transit Gateway, their own managed native service that was supposed to make it all easier. So you see the debate right away. Build it yourself or use a service. And I love this quote from a Reddit thread because it cuts right to the chase, doesn't it? The person basically says the whole Transit VPC thing wasn't really a cloud-native solution at all. It was more of a workaround, a hack, using old-school on-prem tools in this new cloud world just because a better option didn't exist yet from AWS. But that single connection, that was just the appetizer. Because the real world, well, it's never that simple, is it? What happens when your one cloud strategy suddenly isn't cutting it anymore? And boom, this is what it really looks like for pretty much every enterprise today. All of a sudden, you're not just in AWS. You've got stuff in Azure, you're using services in Google Cloud, and you've still got your own data centers to worry about. That simple, straight line from A to B has just exploded into this complex, tangled web. And the worst part? Every single thread in that web plays by its own, completely different set of rules. And that explosion in complexity? Man, it brings a whole world of pain. First, you've got total inconsistency. How AWS does networking is different from Azure, which is different from GCP. This creates huge skill gaps. I mean, trying to find engineers who are experts in all three is like trying to find a unicorn. And visibility? Forget about it. Trying to troubleshoot a problem that goes from your data center through AWS and into an app in Azure is a total nightmare. And the cost? Get this. For every new cloud you add, you might have to hire 4 to 6 new engineers just to keep the lights on. So you're staring at this multi-cloud mess, and you've got a choice to make. And this isn't just about picking some new gadget or software anymore. This is a fundamental strategic crossroads about how you're going to manage your network from here on out. I think this analogy is perfect. The build path is just like going to IKEA. Each cloud provider gives you a bunch of flop-packed networking parts, but guess what? You're the one who has to figure out those confusing instructions, assemble everything, and then keep it all from falling apart. The buy path, on the other hand, is a turnkey solution. It's a platform that hides all those complicated differences and just gives you one single consistent network that works everywhere. All right, let's take a closer look at that build approach, the whole do-it-yourself thing. What does it actually feel like for the engineers on the ground who have to make this mess work? Well, the process it's a marathon. And it's a tough one. First off, you've got to become an expert in the native networking tools for every single cloud. Then you've got to deploy and configure all the different virtual routers and gateways. But you're not done yet. To make it work at scale, you have to write a ton of custom automation and build these super complex CI/CD pipelines. And the kicker is, it's never over. You're now on the hook for managing the entire lifecycle. So when one of the cloud providers decides to change something, and they always do, you're the one who has to go back and fix everything you built. And the reality of this path, for a lot of people who've been down it, it's not a happy story. It just becomes this constant uphill battle. Instead of letting the business move faster, the network becomes the bottleneck. Projects get delayed, you can't get new applications deployed, and the business side starts getting really frustrated, wondering, hey, I thought this agile cloud thing was supposed to be fast. And this just says it all. This is from someone who actually lived through it, an ex-customer looking back on their cloud journey, and their conclusion is simple and powerful. With the wisdom of hindsight, the choice was obvious. The DIY path was a mistake.
Okay, so if building it yourself is such a potential nightmare, what's the alternative? What does this buy or platform approach actually look like in the real world?
So the whole philosophy behind the platform approach is this one magic word: abstraction. Think of it like a software layer that sits on top of all your different clouds and your data center. It basically acts as a universal translator. It hides all the individual complexities and just gives you one single consistent network that you can manage as a single thing.
And the way you start is completely different. Instead of clicking around in a console for hours, platforms use these really powerful automation tools like Terraform. What that means is you don't tell it how to build the network step by step. You just declare, here's the end results I want, and the platform is smart enough to figure out how to build it everywhere automatically. That is a massive game changer for speed and just not messing things up.
And once it's all up and running, you get the holy grail, a single pane of glass. Remember that whole limited visibility problem we talked about? Gone. You get one centralized dashboard that shows you everything. Your networks in AWS, your networks in Azure, your on-prem connections, all in one spot, all speaking the same language. This is how you actually get back in control and can troubleshoot problems effectively.
Okay, so we've seen the IKEA model, and we've seen the unified platform model. Let's put them head to head so you can really see the trade-offs.
This chart really lays it out plain and simple. Let's just walk through it. Agility. With DIY, it's low, because you're always fighting the system. With a platform, high. Operational cost is high for DIY. Remember those extra engineers per cloud? And a lot lower for a platform. The skills you need for DIY are insane. You need experts in everything. With a platform, your team just has to learn one system. And visibility? Well, it goes from being totally fragmented and siloed to being centralized and unified. So here's the bottom line, and this is maybe the most important takeaway. This whole build versus buy thing, it's not really a tech decision. It's a business strategy decision. It's about your people. Do you want your smartest, most talented engineers spending all their time building and fixing basic network plumbing? Or do you want them focused on projects that actually accelerate your business and create real value? And that really just leaves us with one last big question that you have to ask yourself. When you look at your own organization, is your network a true business accelerator, paving a smooth, fast road for your developers and your applications? Or has it become the very thing that's holding you back? The answer to that question will tell you everything you need to know about which path you should choose.